4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to the God is Awesome podcast. My name is Aaron. I'm your host today. And on this podcast, we like to interview everyday, regular Christians about an awesome, extraordinary, not everyday God. And today we have a special guest in Mandi on our podcast. Mandi, say what's up to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
We are so happy to have you here, Mandi. But before we kick it over to you, I just want to remind everyone to like us on iTunes and share us and invite you to and get into the group and stuff. This is bigger than just like a podcast. We're trying to really formulate a community that reaches out to people with their stories. Because, sometimes you think that you're alone in what you've experienced. And some of it's crazy. Some of it's like internal. And, you never know. And, God saves all types of people. And testimonies are really like seeing where God has walked, where God has been in someone's life. And so I think this is why it's pretty special. Anyway, Mandi, again, I'm super happy to be on this podcast with you. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just going to kick it over to you. Tell us a little bit about your origin story, where you come from, how you grew up, basically your life and how you thought before or making your way to Christ.
Okay. I grew up here in Florida, but down south in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. We always, as a family, always went to church. I was raised Catholic. There was a time where we went to a Protestant church, I believe, for a little bit. But we were always active in church in one way or another. Maybe not as consistently as I am now, but we always went to church. As a kid, I was always taught, the Bible stories, the Easter, Christmas, everything, all the important stuff.
Sure.
But I think as a kid, you really don't get it. You hear it. You know it, but I don't think, well, in my opinion anyways, for me, it really didn't sink in probably till I was older.
Gotcha. You're just kind of there.
Yeah. We had to go on Sundays.
Okay.
The Catholic Church was a little more traditional than the Presbyterian church we went to. Because my husband and I were both raised Catholic when we had our boys. They were both baptized Catholic also.
Okay.
But that was a whole different story. But growing up, we always went to church. We always believed in God. We always celebrated all the holidays. I don't think when we were, it stayed at church. You know what I mean? It never came home and we never really talked about it. We never really prayed. It was kind of our own individual thing to do.
Okay. What was it? Both your parents, your dad and mom? Okay.
I grew up with both my parents and I have a younger sister.
Gotcha.
We had a great childhood.
Good deal.
Pretty normal.
But church and faith and religion stayed on Sundays, and the rest of the week kind of had really no impact with your faith on Sunday.
Right.
Gotcha.
It just never really spilled over into the weekdays.
Okay. It says a lot of your testimony has to deal with your husband and parenting and stuff like that. So lead us up to the point where either you're getting married or your faith is changing, spilling over into the other days.
Yeah. I truly believe that God brought my husband right to my feet and put him right in front of me. We met each other when we were 12 in middle school.
Okay.
And we were friends for a really long time. And then when we had just graduated high school, I always say that I forced him into our relationship. But he says he came willingly. Okay. But at the time we were both Catholic, still Catholic. But at the time that we got married, church wasn't really a big aspect in our lives. We never really went together, probably till after we got married. Mm-hmm. And we didn't get married in a church. It's one of my big regrets. But at the time, it wasn't
important
to us. Yeah, we just wanted to be married. We discussed, God and going to church. And we did end up going to Catholic church together later on. But still not really in our hearts, I believe. Gotcha. I can't attest for him, but for me, it wasn't. Yes, I believed in God. Yes, I prayed when I needed it. Yes, we went to church.
So what changed that? What are the shaping forces that, was that took it from like, it's all just church on Sunday mornings to like the rest of your life?
Right. Marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. Through everything, we always knew we loved each other. I mean, that was never doubtful, but it's difficult. It's the first couple of years are hard. You are trying to be yourself and be with someone at the same time. I think around that time we started bringing God more into our lives.
Any particular reason?
Just for struggles. It was
Really?
tough at the beginning. We fought, not, awful or violently or anything like that, but it was arguments. There were times that neither one of us were happy just because we didn't know how to exist with each other.
Gotcha.
That's difficult for a young couple. We were only 23 when we got married. But I think the real change came when before I had my first son, I had a miscarriage early on. I had just found out that I was pregnant and then found out I wasn't. So it was difficult. But I think right around then is when the two of us really started bringing God into our relationship, into our house. It was a time where I really had to accept that it was for a reason. Yeah. And it was God's reason. It wasn't mine. It wasn't anything I did. It wasn't anything that I could have prevented. It was just what happened.
How old were you for the miscarriage?
20. I must have been 24.
Okay.
Within our first year of marriage.
What went through your first year of marriage?
Yeah.
What went through your brain? Like, how are you thinking about this? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Put me in that mindset.
It's awful. You're devastated to begin with, devastated. And at the time I blamed myself. I had a lot of good friends that helped with it and got me through it. Not necessarily through God or in that pathway, but just to be there for me. But I started to realize at that time that it wasn't up to me. It's not in my hands. Nothing was in my hands.
Was it just like a fluke? Like, help me to understand, like, what caused it? Is it just happening?
They don't know. 1 second there was a heartbeat, and the next time I went back, there wasn't. And unfortunately, I made the mistake, like every new mother does, of telling everyone under the sun. So then it was a difficult time to go back and have to tell everybody that I wasn't pregnant.
Yeah.
But, and I always tell this story that that wasn't my first miscarriage. I also had one in between my two children also. But for that reason alone, I have the two kids that I have, and I couldn't imagine my life without them. So if I would have had those two kids instead of my two kids, not that they would be any better or different, but I wouldn't have the two kids that I have now.
So you're saying that miscarriage did that bring you to closer together and deeper with God, or was that, what did that do for you?
I didn't regret, not regret. I wasn't angry at God. It wasn't, the first time I blamed more myself because I thought I did something wrong. But I came to realize around that time that it's not up to me. And I think even to this day, things happen and I'm like, well, it's not my choice. It's not my choice. And I truly believe that. So I think that helps me get over a lot of things. Yeah. Because I realize it's not, and that started it. It's not in my hands.
Giving up control to God, like that's not yours. Is that something that you guys struggled with in the beginning of marriage? Like up until that point, was it like the control in marriage or your life or something?
Definitely.
If that's something that you need to give up, that's something that's probably held on to at the beginning, right? Like,
yes, definitely. I was young, 20s. I thought I knew it all. I thought I was controlling it all. And I was absolutely not.
Yeah. And then,
even like thinking about my husband, like I thought, oh, I found him. He's my husband. I found him. I got him.
Oh, yeah.
And that is not the case by any means.
I controlled you. I made you. Like just the way you're speaking about it, it's like maybe control was a big part of your life that you needed to have.
Yes.
Or at least the illusion of.
I was a very controlling person.
How does that manifest itself? Give me like a tangible example. Like what does that look like for you?
Oh, it's awful, Aaron. You don't want to hear it.
And the reason why is because someone might be controlling, and they might be listening to this podcast and they might not know they're controlling.
I think back about it now, and I really did, as a person, really did not think there was anything that I was doing was wrong. And I daily thank Kenny for sticking around and really getting through that, because I don't know if I would have. It could be anything from, I don't know, having plans and at the last minute being like, no, I don't want to go. And they're, say with his friends. One time we got into a real big fight over that.
just to say that you just,
because I didn't feel like it.
That's a little crazy.
It was bad.
Just to say like, yeah, no, I don't want to go. I don't feel like it.
And Kenny, being the amazing husband he was like, okay.
Kenny sounds like a saint right now. Kenny sounds like a saint.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's crazy.
No, that's awesome.
And people that know me now, they think that I'm controlling now. I'm like, no, you should have seen me 10, 15 years ago.
Wow. So a miscarriage did that, huh? A miscarriage, just kind of like, I had no control over here. And
and it really was truly a turning point, because I didn't have any control. I even on simple things that I thought I was in control of, a job, whatever. I was not. And that really opened my eyes to it.
Is it still something you struggle with today?
Control?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a little. I've gotten better in my old age.
Sure. Just wondering.
And also Lucas, my youngest, really set me straight of having control of anything.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. How's parenting? Said you had 2 kids?
I do have 2 kids. I have a 15-year-old Angelo and an 11-year-old Lucas.
Okay.
They are complete opposites. Angelo that's another turning point too. When Angelo was born and they put that baby in my hand, it's truly a miracle. It's truly a miracle. Even like to go through it and grow it in my belly and know that he's in there. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to see that the first time.
Help me out. What's that like? What?
It's surreal.
Emotional.
It's surreal.
Like,
it is. Angelo was a giant baby. If you know him now, he is gigantic. So it works out.
Big baby.
But I had to have a C-section with him. So it was all kind of very clinical, very cold. But when they brought that baby around to me, it was like the whole world changed.
Oh, man.
And it really does. You see the world a completely different space. It's not you in the world anymore. It's you protecting him from this world.
Interesting. So you became Mama Bear.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
That's a good thing.
So that was another turning point with the kids. And then between.
So when you say turning point, what do you mean? Like, did you see the world more beautiful, more dangerous? Like, I'm not sure.
As a mother, it was more dangerous.
Okay.
For him.
Okay.
But as a God-fearing woman, it was more beautiful. It was like more concrete to me that God was really there and he was really doing this.
Sure. Yeah, that's why you say it's a miracle. Like, you're recognizing that it's God who did that. Yeah. So just before we go on, I noticed that so you've got this kind of faith that has been kind of dormant or on Sunday, like the seed that has been planted on Sunday, and it's kind of grown over the years. Yeah. And that 2 major movements have kind of made it real in the rest of your life. So you didn't really have this life-changing, like, thunderbolt change, right? But it was just like,
it's been slow and steady.
It's over a process of years and major things that's happened.
Definitely. I think now, though, probably within the last we've been here 10 years. So probably within the last 10 years, it's really become a part of my daily life, a part of, my true beliefs, a part of being a mother, being a wife, being a teacher. Like, God's in all those parts of my life.
Sure. So, okay. So you have kids now. What's the biggest struggles, and how did God help you through them?
When they were younger, it was knowing you were doing the right thing. You really go into it blindly. It's do or die.
It's do or die. Is it like a military grade? Like
Not to scare you or anything.
it's do or die, Aaron. You better do
It's
or
some serious times. It's some serious times when you bring that first baby home and it's just the two of you and you don't know what the heck you're doing. It definitely brought Kenny and I close together, and it's some of my favorite times to think of when they were that little. But when they're not that little, you don't know what you're doing. I pray to God every day, please help me. And that's when I had my good one. That's when Angela was born. Then when Lucas was born and didn't sleep for 6 months, I was really praying to God.
Oh man. So what is it like? It's like fear, I'm assuming, and it's confusion,
fear.
not knowing.
Yeah, confusion and really just not knowing. You have to go with your instincts, and I truly believe that my instincts came from God. Like, where else would they come from?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. And so, like, what was it? It was the lack of sleep. Was it fighting with your husband, Kenny? What happened? What was the biggest struggles?
Lack of sleep.
Yeah,
definitely not knowing what to do. Not knowing. This is when they were little. Then as they get older, like even now, I'm struggling. Where should they go to school? Should I let him drive? Should he go out with friends? There's so many things, and really you have to. Well, I do. I pray about it and put it in God's hands, because it's really all I could do. I could drive myself crazy worrying about children.
Is it the wisdom that you want to make sure you have to make the right decisions for them? Or I mean, all these kind of shaping forces out in culture and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they're being influenced all the time. Like how are you dealing with that kind of stuff?
We keep faith in our house every day, especially with my older one. I really try to drive it home to him what he should be doing and what God expects of him.
Okay.
Because really that's the only model he has to go after. Who's, God forbid, he models himself after one of these rappers, or like, not that that's awful at all, but
depending on what kind of rapper. I mean,
it's
hard to make an argument that it's great. It's a great lifestyle. I don't know.
We're having a recent argument in our house when him and I are in the car together, that I refuse to listen to music that is inappropriate. And we are constantly changing the radio station.
Interesting. Let me ask you something. I got 2 questions for you as far as parenting goes. One, did you spank at all, or did you ground or?
Yes, yes. I'm a very strict parent.
Okay.
Which I think has now rubbed off on Kenny, because he wasn't a strict parent in the beginning. I did spank, pop, one good attention grabber.
I'm not, I'm not the feds. I'm not going to get you.
I grew up with the wooden spoon.
Gotcha. Me too.
I attempted that with my kids, and it's a funny story. I never spanked them with the spoon, but one day they were like leaning over their bed, and I whacked the bed with the spoon, and it broke and poked Angelo in the eye. So I never used the wooden spoon before. After that, but we do ground. I mean, Angelo was just grounded. So was Lucas. They know I don't play the games. I don't play the games.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
It's difficult, but the stuff I'm going through now, I can tell you, I go to bed every night and pray to God that he guides me in what to do with them, because it's difficult. It's difficult.
Well, it's one of the things, like, I mean, being a youth director, I recognize that when I see kids with 0 boundaries, when they grow up with no one to tell them no, or no one to set like parameters around them, they turn out to be the wildest. Like, they don't know how to set boundaries for themselves, because no one had ever put boundaries on them. So they get into no sexual boundaries, no moral boundaries, no language boundaries, nothing. No monetary boundaries, like how to say no. So their spending is crazy.
Yeah. I think, and again, with God's help, because I was such a controlling person, I think that we have found a good balance between boundaries and still being able to hang out with them and have a good relationship with them. We do a lot of things together as a family.
That's awesome.
And I think that has a lot to do with it also. but they know I don't play. Even my 6 foot 15-year-old knows I'll knock him out if I have to.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because I think that's missing too. You know what I mean? Like there's this like aspect, especially to God, where there's like, a father who puts down the parent to puts down the boundaries, but then like also this friend aspect to it. It's just like it's a fine line to walk, to kind of know, because then you get the parents, who are like too much their friend and not their parent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get the ones
And
that
I really didn't think that I was doing a good job until probably the last year. It's still very difficult for me to
really,
say that I'm doing a good job as a parent because I doubt myself so much.
yeah,
But Angelo's a good kid. He's a really
yeah,
good kid. So I'm proud of that.
yeah, that's great. No, I mean, it takes a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, I think God puts kids in our lives and like teenagers to deal with, to like it's like another life is dependent on you, and so you have
Right.
to, like, there's this aspect to God that kind of we might learn when we're the parent, and we're trying to understand this child and stuff like that. Not that I know, but it's just that, like, that's kind of where I see a parent relationship. It's all meant to reflect who God is in our lives.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think also that you need to realize that you're not the only person that can influence them.
Mm,
I've learned a lot with Angelo that the community can influence him. I have, fantastic people at the church that have influenced him. Um, People like you and Kelsey, who I know, if God forbid anything ever happened and he didn't want to come to me, I know he can go to you.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's hard too, also because you try to control it as a parent. You want to be the only person that
Sure.
can offer that to them. And I think if you have a secure community around you, that they can do that also.
Let me ask you another question. What do you think about like smartphones in their hands? Because talking about there's more influences in their lives rather than their parents.
It's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough. Um, it's difficult. It's difficult. You don't know what they're looking at. And
mm,
unfortunately, we have learned our lessons that now we do know everything they're looking at, because there's a lot of inappropriate stuff out there. Even not trying to be inappropriate, there's
yeah,
inappropriate stuff out there.
yeah,
I've listened to YouTube videos that Lucas is watching, and it's kids just doing stupid stuff in their backyard, but the words and the language and the way things are being come across, I don't want him being part of that.
yeah,
So we try to. Now, it was a mistake that we made, so to everyone out there, you should monitor your kids. And there's so much going on with like the teenagers. Like Angelo's in high school. I'm not necessarily, worried about him, but all the other kids. Like, what if something comes across that he might not be able to handle?
sure.
I want to be able to see that and help him handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's go on to the last part here. You said you have a hard time, or you struggle with forgiving people. I know that comes with drama, like that comes with a lot of freight, and so you don't have to name names or anything, but like, what went through your brain? Tell me a little bit about that, and how did God help you to come to a place of forgiveness, or continually to forgive, or your understanding of forgiveness? Like, help describe that for me.
I don't know if I'm at that place yet. Understanding forgiveness, yes. Understanding that God forgives me every day for the sins that I do every day, yes. And yes, I do try to emulate that when it comes down to it, but it's a very, very difficult thing for me.
Sure.
I think with the controlling aspect of my 20s, I'm also a very stubborn person.
Mm.
And I don't, based off of, being scorned in the past, I don't give many chances.
Really?
Number one, because I don't know. And I guess I should, because God gives me a new chance every day.
Yeah.
So this is what I struggle with.
Yeah, a little bit. It's like, I'm not trying to tell you the right answer. Everyone knows.
No, because I know it. I play it in my head every day. I know. Every night when I go to bed and I say, God, forgive me for my sins, I know he does. But I can't forgive, whoever who just crossed me.
Yeah. Is that not a problem? It's like, I gotta say, like, hey. You know
It's
what's
something I'm
happening there, right?
actively working on.
Sure, sure. So
I've had a lot of
tell me what happened.
I've had a lot of people stab me in the back. I've had a lot of people lie about me, just ridiculous things, and have had other people believe it. And not that I care what other people think about me, because I'm not that type of person, but I don't like my integrity or even my friendship to be questioned. If I'm your friend, I will be loyal to you to the day I die. That's just how I am. But it takes a lot to get in to be a friend.
Sure.
And I think I don't give people enough chances to make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. I mean,
Yeah.
me included, but I don't tolerate it. And that's hard for me. And I sometimes I may let opportunities pass because of my grudges. And I mean, Scott said that time that, it's one of my favorite quotes. Um, I'm not going to be able to remember it. Something about something pill only kills you, not your enemy. Like
Oh, bitterness. Bitterness is a pill that only you swallow or something like that.
yeah,
Where
but it hurts only you and not
yeah,
the other person. And it's so true. Like I hold all this anger and stubbornness and just angriness towards these people, and they have no idea. They walk right past me. They don't know. So who's that hurting?
I
It's
hate
only
you.
hurting.
Hey, I hate you so much.
Exactly. So it's really just something that I need to learn to let go of. But it's hard. It's hard. But it constantly is God putting in front of me testimonies, Bible verses, whatever it is, constantly that I should be more forgiving.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do with that? Just
I'm still working on it, Aaron.
what are you working on? How do you work on it? I'm asking.
I need to. I don't know. I don't know. I know that I should forgive. I know that God forgives me every day. I know all this stuff, but
Yeah.
letting go is hard.
Sure.
It's hard, but it really only hardens me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do. I pray every day to help, with forgiveness.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I get it, like how hard it is to forgive, and I'm not trying to like tell you what to do or give you any advice or whatever.
I'm always willing to take advice.
I only know what works for me, or what I guess worked. I heard from like a pastor or something one time. He says when you try to focus on trying to forgive that person, you rarely ever get to forgive that person. You know it's right, and when you try to focus on that, it's kind of like happiness, right? When you try to focus on happiness or being happy, you'll never really gain happiness. It's always a byproduct. When you focus on God's forgiveness on us, or for God's forgiveness of you, when you press more into that, then you'll be able to forgive easier. But it's only when it's like directed energy, right? If you try to like, I'm going to forgive you, I'm going to forgive you, that doesn't really work. At least that's what this pastor's saying. And maybe
That makes sense.
by your testimony, that's what it's saying. But he's saying when you focus more on the gospel that Jesus Christ forgave you of your sins, and you kind of alluded to that too, like earlier. Like I know all this. Maybe it's directed energy. I don't know, but I mean,
I'm gonna try that.
yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's hard. I get it. It's hard.
I won't send daggers to the people that I see.
Eye daggers. Man, I know all about that kind of stuff. When you have like, so for I've been at the church 13 years, and I've been through my fair share of drama, and like when someone doesn't like you or whatever, and they send eye daggers piercing your way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's such a good, and you can't like call it out, right? Like you did nothing, you just don't like each other, right? Maybe it's something like years ago or whatever. But then it's nice when it's done.
Yeah.
It's nice when it's done. So
I'm working on it.
well, Mandi, we're coming to our time here. Is there anything you want to leave us with or close us out with? Anything that you maybe forgot about? Some of your testimony on how God has shaped you.
I know this is gonna sound like I'm brown nosing, but I truly believe that God put Kelsey in my life, your wife,
Yeah.
to really shape me and change me and walk me down a clearer path that I needed to go down. And she's been such a blessing to me and to my family the moment I met her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, in his way, through forgiveness, we ended up together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she really has changed me in the last couple of years. Keeping me on my toes, keeping me awake, keeping me thinking. And it's funny because if anything ever, we're either, you know, one of us is mulling over something, we'll be in church. And this was funny because I'm a teacher and we were talking about whether or not I should stay or go to a different school. And Scott was doing a sermon and the two of us are texting each other. And I'm like, does that mean I should leave? And she's like, I thought it meant you should stay. So she really brings the perspective to me, and we can talk about things and we can hash it out. And she always brings me back to.
Yeah, she's a great human being. She does that to me too. I feel like I'm third wheeling one with two of you guys. So it's like,
no, yeah. And he feels that way
too. She's an awesome human being for sure. And if anyone wants to know, if I interviewed my wife Kelsey, who we're talking about a couple episodes earlier too. I'll make sure the link's in the description too. Mandi, is there? Well, we wrap off the show with like this last question, and I know you know it's coming. So here's the question, and then we'll be done with that. Or we'll be done with this episode. But I just want to say to everyone, thank you for if you're still with us, thank you for making it to the end. We really appreciate you. If you found this testimony interesting or something that could speak to someone else in your life, please share it. Invite them to the group. Get them in touch with Mandi. I'm sure she wouldn't mind talking with them. But Mandi, let's wrap this up. Can you tell us why you think God is awesome?
God is awesome because he has truly created a wonderful world for us to be in. It may seem rocky or awful, or you're at your bottom of the barrel, but he will always bring you out of it, no matter what. I have learned that, and I have seen it, and you have to believe it. You have to believe it because he will bring you through anything you need to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Mandi, for hopping on this podcast. It was a fun one. It was awesome. I really appreciate it. Guys, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us on the Facebook Live and everything. We love you all. We will talk to you all next time. God is Awesome podcast. We out.